Hello everyone. Let's learn about combining group by clause with other clauses. You need to specify group by clause after the where clause and before the order by clause. Let me give you an intuition for this. First of all, you want to apply the where clause to filter out specific rows that satisfy your Boolean expression. Only after doing the smart filtering, you would want to create groups of those rows. So group by clause should come after the where clause. Why do we have to specify group by clause before the order by clause? Only after creating the groups of rows, you would want to order those groups of rows based on a specific column's ordering. So order by clause is going to come after the group by clause. Let's use this intuition to answer the set of questions as part of this section. I have created a query shell where I have select clause first, followed by which I have the from clause which mentions the table name as movies. Then I'm typing the where clause, followed by that I'm specifying my group by clause. After doing the group by, I'm specifying order by. Finally, I have the limit clause, which is the simple filtering. This question is asking what is the total revenue per year in recent years. Clearly, we'll have to group by the year column. What do we have to order by? It is saying recent years. So I'll have to order by the year column and I'll have to do the descending order to ensure that I get recent years. Let's say that we want to limit ourselves to recent 5 years. What do we want to select here? We want to select the year column along with total revenue, which is going to be sum of revenue over here. Do we need a where clause for this particular question? Not really. So let me get rid of that. Let's execute this query. Observe that we are getting the recent 5 years total revenue here. Let me save the total revenue column as total underscore revenue here, and that will change the column index to the appropriate value that we just typed. We are getting the recent years up until 2016 because this database only has the information until the year 2016. Let's move on to the next question, which is asking which directors have had the largest number of movies earning over $100 million. Once again, we'll have to group by director because it's asking which directors. What do we have to order by? We'll have to order by based on largest number of movies. Do we have this information as part of the original table? Not really. We do not have count of movies on a per director basis. So clearly we'll have to use an aggregate to answer that part of the question, which is expecting us to order by based on largest number of movies. Let me include director column as part of my select clause. I'm going to do count of star, or I could do count of title. Both of those are going to be equivalent. Let me save the column name as count here. What do we have to apply for the where clause here? We have this condition where the earning should be greater than $100 million. Clearly, we'll have to deal with the revenue column Boolean expression. So I'm going to type my condition as where revenue greater than 100. Recall that the original row entries have the revenue column values in the order of millions. So I'm going to skip typing the additional zeros over here. Now let's go back to the order by. We want to order by largest number of movies, which is going to be count here. So I'm going to order by count and I'll have to do descending order. Let's get rid of the limit clause because that's not needed for this question. Observe that we are getting the director name and the corresponding counts. Let's move on to the next question, which is asking which three directors have the greatest average rating. Clearly, we'll have to group by director. What do we have to order by? We'll have to order by the greatest average rating, which is not part of the original table's entries. So we'll have to use an aggregate function. Let me type the director column name as part of the select clause. Along with it, I'm going to type avg of rating as avg underscore rating. Let's also count the number of movies for each of those directors. So I'm going to say count star as count here. Let's go back to the order by. we want to order by greatest average rating, which is going to be AVG underscore rating, and I'll have to do the descending order here. What should be the limit clause? We are interested in three such directors. Do we need a where clause here? Not really. Let me execute this query. Observe that we are getting three directors. Those are going to be Nitesh Tiwari, Christopher Nolan, and Olivier Nakache. I'm only aware of Christopher Nolan. The other two directors I'm not familiar with. The count of movies is showing up as 1, 5, and 1 over here. There is a specific reason I displayed the count of the movies shot by each of those directors. This particular question may not be the best question to ask out of this dataset. The key thing for you to understand about becoming a data scientist is that you need to ask the right questions about the dataset that you're analyzing. Throughout the course of this semester, all of us have been learning only how to answer the provided questions. Being able to come up with a better question is a more challenging aspect of becoming a data scientist. Let's understand why this question is a bad question. We are asking which three of the directors have the greatest average rating. Observe that couple of those directors have only directed one movie which has greatest average rating. That doesn't really make any sense for us to infer meaningful information, correct? Instead, a better question would be which three of the directors have the greatest average rating over at least three movies. That indicates consistency of those directors rather than them getting just one movie with an above average rating. Let's try to solve this particular question. I'm going to paste the query from the previous question. We are going to introduce a where clause here. Let's see if that works. Recall that we'll have to type the where clause after the from clause and before the group by clause. What do we want to type as condition for the where clause? Let's say that we are dictating this condition as at least three movies. So I'm going to type my condition here as count greater than or equal to 3. Let's execute this query. Does it work? Not really. That's because you cannot use the where clause to apply a condition which is associated with an aggregate. Recall that aggregate values do not come from the original table. You can only use the where clause to apply Boolean expression for the columns which are part of the original database table. The count column is not part of the initial set of columns, so you cannot use the where clause over here to apply a condition based on the count column which you generated using the count aggregate keyword over here. I'll wrap up this video here. In the next video, we are going to learn about the having clause, which will enable us to apply conditions to specific groups.